You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. We opened the show talking about LSU Jack linebacker Zavier Carter entering the transfer portal. And went through a lot of the sort of particulars there, and part of it, I guess, makes sense, right? And it's disappointing that you lose B.J. Ojulari to the draft, which you knew. That's not the disappointing part. You knew he was going. But Desmond Little was a Jack linebacker who went into the portal, and now Zavier Carter as well. Of course, you signed Braden Swinson, who's an edge from Oregon, 3-year player there, 6'4", 233. Played a lot of football, so he's sort of a plug-and-play at that Jack linebacker spot. And, you know, you in this signing class, you got 5-star Deshaun Womack, who can play that spot for you, as can Jackson Howard, the 6'4", 243-pound freshman out of Minnesota. So, you know, you've got a couple of freshmen coming in that could fit, you know, and give you some reps and depth there. And then Braden Swinson, the Oregon transfer. But you've lost a lot of your veteran experience there. You could always move Harold Perkins back to Jack, and Matt House could get creative because he's just been really good at doing that. And we talked a little bit about, of course, it hurts your depth. You lose Ojulari and Little and Carter. And so maybe Matt House could get creative with guys like Quincy Wiggins or Savion Jones. And as we opened the show, we talked about, well, they could always also, of course, go back to the portal and add another body if they need to. And perhaps the reason Zavier Carter hit the portal, we now know, is because LSU has added a player via the portal. Ovie Oghoufo, who will be a super senior, is going to play his final season of college football for LSU. By the way, they have the pronunciation here. It's let's see. You want to listen to it? Let's see.
Ovie Oghoufo.
There it is. I love this. Is super handy.
Do it one more time. One more time.
Ovie Oghoufo.
Ovie Oghoufo.
Oghoufo. Shout out to Texas for having the pronunciation, not only the guide, the phonetic spelling, but also the button where you can.
Ovie Oghoufo.
Now
Yeah, that should be mandatory, I feel like.
I agree. Ovie Oghoufo. It's spelled Oghoufo. Ovie Oghoufo.
Ovie Oghoufo.
Easy enough. So Ovie Oghoufo is a super senior who's going to finish his college career at LSU. 6'3", 239. Here's a little bit about his journey, okay? So he's from Michigan. He signed with, wait for it, Notre Dame in the class of 2018. Redshirted in 2018. Played in 2019 and in 2020. So he played 20 games during his Notre Dame career. Remember, of course, 2020 was the COVID season that was shortened. But played in 20 games in those 2 seasons at Notre Dame. After the COVID year, he transferred to Texas. A year ago, in 2012, he was honorable All Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. Played in 12 games, started 8 at that edge rush spot. 42 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 2 sacks. So was a very productive player as a fourth-year guy transferring into Texas a year ago. This season in 2022, played in 13 games, started 12 of them, had 54 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. Let me compare that, if I could, to the year that B.J. Ojulari just had. Ojulari had 58 tackles to 54 for Oghoufo. Each had 8.5 tackles for loss. Oghoufo had 2.5 sacks. Ojulari had 5.5 sacks. So, now grant you, B.J. Ojulari played in 11 games. Oghoufo played in 13 with 12 starts. So he did play in a couple more games, but the production was similar. You're talking about a guy that knows Brian Kelly very well, committed to him at Notre Dame and played for him in 18, 19, and 20. So 3 seasons in South Bend with Brian Kelly. There's a familiarity there with the player, his skill set, and then with the coaching staff. So you bring in another guy who has some ties there to Notre Dame and has played major college football as well at Notre Dame, Texas, and LSU. Worth mentioning, of course, as well, that even though he's already transferred once, because he is a graduate, he could transfer and be immediately eligible for his one remaining season with no waiver required. So this is the benefit of the portal. And you can lament the direction of college football. You can say that you hate the portal and how guys can leave whenever they want. Or the bottom line is it's good for the player because it gives the player options. And if you're a fan of your team, what you really want is for your team to be good. And this is just another tool in the toolbox for coaches to build their roster. You're not gonna run your program on the portal, but in a situation like this where your jack linebacker is going pro and might be a first-round pick, and two guys that were there to provide depth, and Desmond Little and Zavier Carter have now hit the portal, well, you've turned around and added Braden Swinson and Ovie Oghoufo. So if I were to ask you, of course, Ojulari leaving, and I gave you the option, would you rather Braden Swinson, who's played for 3 years at Oregon, and Ovie Oghoufo, who's going to be a sixth-year player who committed to Brian Kelly, 3 years at Notre Dame, 2 years at Texas, and has been a productive player at that position? Would you rather those two guys or Desmond Little, Zavier Carter? Young guys who haven't played very much. Give me the two veteran guys, of course. So you've actually improved your roster at that spot. Now, again, you'd have loved to have B.J. Ojulari back. He's the best of all those guys. I'm not saying that, but you knew Ojulari was going pro. So look at how you've upgraded the jack position from Little and Carter to Swinson and Oghoufo immediately with veteran guys who now give you a rotation at that spot instead of, well, B.J. Ojulari is our jack, and then after that it's Harold Perkins, who we don't want to play him at that position because then we got to bring B.J. off the field, or we got to get creative with how we get them both on the field just so they can be on the field at the same time. Now it's, okay, no, now you've got two really experienced jack linebackers and you have a rotation. And Harold Perkins can be on the field and play inside backer, which he's going to do anyway. And then you can get really creative with how you use him. So, look, when you saw the news about Zavier Carter going into the portal, it was pretty obvious that LSU was going to have to add another body. Was it going to be a freshman? Was it going to be a transfer? Clearly, LSU already had their target set on Ovie Oghoufo, and he gives you an immediate upgrade as far as depth and rotation than what you would have had. And a guy that's familiar with Brian Kelly, and he and Kelly familiar with him. So Ovie Oghoufo becomes the latest transfer that LSU has added via the portal. And Tigers have a consensus top 5 portal class. They've been they haven't quite been as active as a year ago where they had to add 19 guys, 15 of them at the mid-year. But they've certainly supplemented on that defensive line where they needed to go add bodies, and they've done it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.